They say we're live. They say we're live. Now I got to figure out. Oh, did Google Hangouts mess up all my levels? Probably. Such is the life. Nothing's ever simple, is it? Nothing's ever simple. It still does this thing that drives me nuts where it auto adjusts. I don't want it to. I've got everything set. I can do this myself. I'm not just some dullard signing into YouTube and putting on a show. I'm the dullard signing into YouTube to put on a show. What's happening, everybody? Good Fridays to all of you. I'm Dan Besbris, the man staring intently at his computer screen. Black hat, hand in thumb, is Aaron Bruski, the architect. What's up, Aaron? How are you?
I'm reading, Dan. I'm reading. Don't bug me while I'm reading.
Everybody knows how I'm doing this week. It's been a slow and steady climb. My God. I don't need to...
you've been doing pretty good, Dan. I've been watching your Twitter feeds. You've been on one.
When I feel crummy, it sort of messes with my ability to filter things. And that ends up coming out via social media. I don't think
do we need to filter you, Dan?
I can auto filter until, and I gotta move some things around over here. I can auto filter until I get hit with, I don't know. I mean, I don't think not every stomach bug is norovirus, right? That's the one you get from food, but it was unpleasant. It was a weekend.
Yeah, some of your text messages worried me a little bit, like keeled over on the bathroom floor. I've been on the bathroom floor for 4 hours. That, and your wife is a doctor, so I kind of,
she was at work.
Assume you guys are okay, but
yeah, she was at work, man. She took 2 days off last week. 3 days off last week. No, 2. She took 2 days off last week because she had it. But she couldn't take any more vacation days to take care of me. So, yeah, I just wanted to make sure you knew this is why I had vanished from the face of the earth. I literally could not pull myself up off the floor. And, we have fake hardwood here, which is, by the way, I would give glowing reviews to fake hardwood because it's cheap and it's easy to clean and you don't feel bad like if something sharp drops and you get a little nick in it. The best. Until you're keeled over on it for the better part of half. I guess it was like a third of the day. I was basically on the floor, and my back still hasn't quite recovered from that. I mean, it was like, I told stories about it on a couple of Fantasy NBA Today podcasts. I didn't go into too much detail because nobody needs to know that kind of stuff. It's just gross. But I always feel like people remember, I think this was yesterday's show. You always remember the sickest you've ever been, right? It's a tough thing to forget, Brew. I'm sure you remember some of your worst illnesses all the time, right?
No, I got a 107 temperature once.
107, come on.
No, I'm not kidding. Like, verified the whole bit. It was, they put me in a plastic kind of like ice bucket. It was like you were fully encased in plastic to like cool you down with ice water running through that. Yeah, I remember that, Dan.
Oh my God. When did that happen?
Sure,
how long ago?
I've gone through much worse than what I've gone through, but yeah, that one was and it hit you fast and like yeah, I remember we actually walked like home from school in the rain that day. Was,
so this is
because you're a kid, a long time ago, but you're a kid, you're invincible, what are you gonna do? Yeah,
that's dangerous. That's like,
well, I like to think that it helped make me who I am today.
Yeah, significant brain damage.
It cooked the brain just perfectly. It's like, hey, we'll cook your brain a little bit.
Wow,
that's fantasy basketball in your future.
I've got just the thing for you, a cooked brain. My high was, I think I hit 104 when I had mono in 7th grade. That's the highest fever I've ever had. It was 104 or something.
You weren't just really bored.
No, I was actually. It was pretty weird, that whole experience. So my mono kind of turned into like a weird positional vertigo thing as it worked its way through my system, and it's never gone away. I actually still have light bouts of vertigo every once in a while because of mono in 7th grade. I was 1995. Yeah, 22 years ago. And every once in a while, I still feel this weird thing where it kind of feels like the thing I'm looking at stays in focus and everything else sort of like drifts away from my field of vision. It's very unnerving. It's a very unsettling experience.
Are we sure this just isn't because you went to college in Berkeley?
Yeah, no,
Dan.
I like to talk about the whole like, whoa, Berkeley, bro. But I was pretty easygoing by Berkeley standards. I partook of the fruits of the earth, but that was it. Nothing crazy, like
Is that what you're calling it? You partook of the fruits of the earth.
nothing crazy. And I'll tell you why, actually, and not that this would have made any difference. I would have done it anyway. But I had a roommate. I think you and I have talked about this off air before, so I'm not going to say any names. But I had a roommate the year after I graduated Cal, because I was working at a science lab and applying to medical school at the time. And so one of our roommates graduated and left. And we took on a new one who we knew had a little bit of an alcohol abuse problem at one point in his past. And he had gone to AA, and it seemed like things were kind of under control. But it spiraled hard, and it moved on to crystal meth. And so we ended up with a roommate addicted to crystal meth, and he was, he's dealing out of our apartment, and he was drawing weird things on the walls, and he kept yelling about Bob Dobbs. It was
Who?
Yeah, exactly.
Bob Dobbs?
Bob Dobbs. And I kept thinking, Bob Dobalina? That's the only Bob Dobb anything I know.
Mr. Dobalina, Mr. Bob Dobalina you're referring to, of course.
Yeah, I know Mr. Dobalina, but I don't know Bob Dobbs. And
Mr. Bob Dobalina?
He drew these weird, dude, it was crazy. He drew these things he'd take scratch paper and he'd draw these insane, like, dragons and he just started thumbtacking them to the walls all around it was really, it was very,
I hope that he found
I don't know where
peace.
At one point and this is actually topical because I think, didn't AOL just close down AIM? Didn't it just die?
It did, which that if you've ever had a workspace on AIM for a long time, that's a really big deal.
Yeah, my baseball uses AIM to communicate with the different teams about their pitch track stuff.
AIM is also the worst piece of crap I've ever seen.
But yeah, the only reason I brought that up was because one day, like 6 years after college, I had
AIM something
from him that was just like, "Hey, man," and that was it. One word, one sentence. Anyway, so yeah, I didn't.
That's one of the weirder openings that I think we've ever had, Dan.
I know, but we didn't throw anybody under the bus. We didn't say anything dirty. It was just, this is like personal stories about life, man. You got to get through it, right? It's good stuff. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody is watching this show and in the future they have a roommate at Berkeley on meth or a 107 temperature or what else? Oh, sickness bringing you to the bathroom floor, which I'm sure most of our listeners had that happen last weekend. Anyway, this is good advice. This is good advice.
I'm telling you, this is good advice. This is getting to know me and Brew, man.
This is we've done this so much that we've gone crazy.
We know your brain was fried by 107. Mine is,
yeah, what's your excuse, Dan?
I would have blamed Berkeley, but I just admitted that I didn't fry it all that hard. My short-term memory from those years is not that great. All right, let's talk about some basketball. In 3, 2, 1. And that weird bong noise didn't happen, huh?
What bong noise, Dan?
There's a spring on my, I guess bong was probably not the right word to use. There's a spring on my my microphone arm that I use here, and I tried to move my laptop without hitting the webcam, and it doinged the spring. So now we're officially starting in 3, 2, 1, whatever. Oh Lord!
Enjoying the spring.
Can that be the first? All right. That's going to be the first word that I cut into this thing. It doinged the spring, Aaron. It doinged the spring. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the official beginning now of Fantasy NBA Today live with Aaron Bruski and Dan Besbris. I am Dan. He is Aaron El Arquitecto. I haven't called you that in a couple of weeks, which is a shame because I know you like that nickname.
I really do. It's got that mystery of, like, is this some dude in like ancient times that's just been brought through the ages to deliver fantasy basketball info?
I think so. Do you think? Do you think when Hoopball starts to do more in the merchandise realm, that we can get a shirt that's your what do you call that? Everybody, I think, knows the image that I'm about to describe. Bruski, you have that like sort of cartoony version of your face that was drawn that you use.
Oh, yeah. An absolute great artist out of Toronto, Steve Manley, who has been a fan and a friend of the show for like 10 years.
I want that.
Yeah, well, we just got to be more proactive and reach out to him. He's a great guy. And he did the art show up in Toronto where they did a Meta World Peace themed art show. And this was back when Meta was probably at his peak in his career. Not the fighting stuff, the Lakers stuff. And so Meta in Toronto drops by the art show. All these great artists from Toronto made various pieces of art. And so what he did is I actually helped him promote it accidentally. I tweeted about it and somebody in LA figured it out, and then somebody else kind of took it to the next level. And then the Basketball Jones guys, who are now the starters, showed up, had drinks with the people at the art show and did a thing on it. It was really great. Anyway, Steve Manley is awesome. He'll get you that thing probably.
I want one done.
And then, yeah, one done of you. And then he did that for me, like the comment, like probably took him 2 seconds. And then,
awesome.
No, he also did a Peanut style comic strip of Meta and all of his exploits. And he sent me a signed copy of one. So I've got like one of 50 of these things.
Well, I want your face, that graphic of your face on the front of a Hoopball shirt, and on the back it says, like a magical force sent through time to help you with a fried brain to help you.
I've already got the design in my head, Dan. I think if it's gonna be magical, I think maybe like I have my hands up, and then there's like power beams coming out of my hands that are like spitting out fantasy basketball stats, and it'll be like, rah.
I hope you have the faces of some of your greatest fantasy calls of all time, like Nikola Jokic on one of the little rainbows coming out of your head. Oh, man. At Aaron Bruski on Twitter, at Dan Besbris, at Hoopball Tweets. You guys know the ordeal. This is, of course, also available live if you're listening after the fact. If you're listening live now, then you know that to be true. And I would encourage anybody that's not checking out this Friday show as it happens on YouTube to do so in the future. We're having a lot of fun. And there's about 10 to 15 minutes before the show that we broadcast out into the internet space for whatever harebrained and idiotic reason, where you can kind of get to know us a little bit better and understand just how weird and degenerate we both are. But we're into the basketball stuff now. As always, I've got my list. Today it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things deep. And then we'll get into questions from the YouTube chat room, which are provided not by people that we're putting in there. It's you guys. So again, if you're listening after the fact and you want to ask Aaron Bruski a question live on video, all you got to do is watch the show on YouTube, and you can even put the question in an hour or two before the show starts, because I've got the thing open. I've got the window open, and presuming, that Windows doesn't update itself, then none of the questions will be lost to the world forever. So, Brew, how was your week from a fantasy standpoint? Hello, by the way.
It's really, the Joel Embiid stuff's killing me. I wasn't a huge Joel Embiid guy coming into the year, but then the value was there in drafts, and so I've got a ton of Joel Embiid, and I got a ton of Rashawn Holmes, so that's kind of been nice. But Joel Embiid, is he playing? Isn't he playing? I got one spot where Goran Dragic, there was some tape of Spo saying this was like right before lineup deadlines. You're looking for any edge you can get, and I get some tape of Spo talking about the injury, making it seem like it's not that bad. And I was like, well, I got to throw him in there. That kind of stuff is killing me this week. Other than that, we both got a ton of Nico. That's been great.
Yeah.
Certain things like Marquise Chris sucks.
Marquise Chris is garbage, man. I was trying to talk about this a few weeks ago. Just watching him play, he is winning my award for most disinterested, least interested basketball player. He's just out there like, whatever.
Yeah, this stuff happens in the small markets where they can only really cover so much. It's like that to me is a huge story. Like if I'm a media outlet in Phoenix, I want to know what's going on. You traded a ton to get this guy, and you're just going to let him score 3 points, 2 boards every single night, in 18 minutes, as if that's just what he does. And there's no questioning Jay Triano. There's no questioning, the front office. There's no like, hey, are you guys really going to just let this guy, eat himself into the next, phase of his non-career? To me, that's a very bleak picture. I'm actually still working to hold him, because even if he's this terrible, like he's still capable of the 13-9 with a couple of threes, or 13-8 that he got in the second to last game. It's rough though. It's rough to see that for any young player going through what he's going through.
So why don't we just start in Phoenix then, since it is on my list. And oddly enough, Marquise Chris wasn't one of the names on the list because he's just sort of still bad from week to week. Isaiah Cannon and the centers are on my list here of things we need to talk about.
Let's wanted to rile me up, didn't you, Dan?
I didn't even bring him up.
Yeah, but now we're talking Phoenix. The very first thing we talk about on this show is Phoenix.
I was going to go to Chicago when you said Nico. I want to talk about Nico because I got to reveal the...
Well, let's get the Phoenix. Can I just riff on Phoenix like for three beats here?
Yeah, 3 beats. Give me 3 beats on Cannon, the centers, and whatever else is going on in Phoenix.
Okay, Isaiah Cannon is what Isaiah Cannon is, and I have no idea why you bring another chucker into a lineup that has nothing but chuckers. Way to go, Phoenix. No, I don't buy what he's selling. Cannon. I would not want to own any of the point guards. They've ruined Tyler Ulis. Greg Monroe getting 3 DNPs in a row is garbage. But he played last night, and hey, look, the Phoenix Suns offense now has passing as a component of it. Shocker. Greg Monroe is a big facilitating guy. Alex Len has been good, but of course you got to play Tyson Chandler because of veteran leadership. And what else? What else do we? Oh, Josh Jackson is a chucker. Like they're teaching him how to be a chucker. What else? Did I miss anything? Oh, TJ Warren. Guess what? He's a chucker.
Oh, he's a premier chucker. He's like a chucker plus.
This team is the worst team to watch. Mike James, chucker. All right. I'm awake again.
I like it. It's
good. Just like how bad are you as an organization to put together that team?
I kind of feel bad for Jay Triano, though I know I shouldn't. Like he's an NBA head coach, but I feel like he got thrown into this thing and someone was like, "Hey, figure this out. Figure this out. Like we got all these guys that are just hot refuse. Figure out how to make them better." And he's like, "Oh my God, what did you guys do to these players?" But wasn't he there, right? He witnessed it.
Earl Watson was trying to be everybody's buddy and, being very positive and upbeat and, just let it get all out of control. I'll say this, though. Zach Lowe did a pretty good write-up on Chris. He really struggles because he doesn't have a glue game or an in-between game. And he can shoot threes, but, like, really what's he doing in the post? He can kind of hit a mid-range jumper, but there's not a lot of range to his game in between the three-point line and dunking. And so that's why you're seeing him disappear. And I would throw in that the pouting, when you're not a part of anything, you can get lost. If you're not a great rebounder, you can have the types of nights that he's having pretty quickly if you're pouting and maybe about 5 pounds overweight. But maybe players don't change this much from year to year. I really think that this is an upside guy. You got to work to hang on to him.
Chris over Bender then?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Bender still has a little ways to go to prove himself. He's not playing out of his mind or anything like that. The only way to really unlock that team and make it make sense is if you get rid of 2 of the 3 centers and you play Bender at center for some amount of minutes and play him next to Marquise Chris, with Chris at power forward. But how are you going to you're going to have 3 centers get hurt or traded. And Phoenix is going to hold them all the way to the deadline because by God they're going to get something for these guys.
They're not. They're going to hold them right to the deadline. They're going to get nothing. That's my not very.
Let's talk about the Bulls.
Let's talk about the Bulls. That's on my list. The Chicago check-in. I'm going to delete that off the list here, and we can talk about it. It's a pretty easy one, right? I mean, like we've covered this ad nauseum since the mighty face punch. And I mean, there's very few people out there that have said this is going to be fine. Everybody just chill. This is going to be fine. And we've been a few of those people. And guess what? Everything's fine. The Bulls just lost by 3 to the Cavs. It snapped a 7-game winning streak. Nico's playing well. Dunn's playing well. Even frickin' Robert Portis is playing well right now. Like, things are good in Chicago. Guys are getting along. People are fist bumping. Zach LaVine's back in like 3 weeks or whatever it is, and they'll slowly ramp his butt up. David Nwaba's playing well. And everybody wanted to panic when Markkanen came back, and we said, don't panic. They'll find 25 minutes for Nico. And guess what? He's played 26 minutes in those 2 games, except for the blowout. So what more do we need to say? Like, just hold the course.
Yeah, I think we've seen a couple examples of October, November, December basketball really, like we were talking on the Cause and Brew show before this show about Ben Simmons and how the league has kind of caught up to him a little bit. Lauri Markkanen hitting the rookie wall, dealing with back issues. He's still great. I mean, he had 22 last night, all 2-point shots, I believe, showing some real range to his game. Or versatility is a better word than range. I've now used that word twice. He is a good young prospect, but he's not. I think what the other folks had to have been doing, if you ask me, is thinking that Markkanen was going to bump Mirotic out of his play or out of his minutes, and that hasn't happened. And Mirotic, I'm glad we had this last year with Jokic, where Jokic looked terrible for about as long, into December, and we stuck to our guns there. We stuck to our guns here with Mirotic. He looks like a different player. Seeing him in that first game, a lot of people were like, okay, is this for real? Is it not? But seeing him in that first game and seeing what kind of a different player he is and having that pan out, I think that's helped us with recommendations. So it's been a good run here for Mirotic, and he is a different player. He's bigger. Like, he's actually a physical presence out there. It's helping him defensively. It's going to help him keep on the floor minutes-wise. I mean, we were hoping to see 26 minutes per game out of him this year. I think that 27, 30 play. I think the field goal percentage, we had questions, would it get way up over 40? I didn't project a big jump in field goal percentage, but that was part of the upside piece, is if he's what he has been, that's what we were banking on. But if he's more than that, there's top 50 upside here. And, we had to wait about a third of the year to get there, but now you got it in your hands. So congrats.
I also want to reveal the results of the Nico Mirotic hashtag poll.
Oh God, you guys got probably the cleanest ones. That I'm like the HR department, Dan.
They're not bad, actually. They're fine.
All right, let's hear them. I'm pretty sure I saw them. I know one of them was the one I recommended.
Yes, Bruski's recommendation was Nico's restraining order for Dan. which actually was the one I ended up picking. Nico's Magic Face was also on the list. Nico Love, which was another one because it sounds like his name, Nikolov Mirotic. There were a few that got added after the fact. Just in the Nico Time, pretty good one. That was right from our boy Beans. I like that one. There was a long one. There's a Nico Fant, like a sycophant. Nico File. There was one that was just like Nico Robert 1-2 punch or something like that. I think that was too long for a hashtag.
I like that stuff, by the way. The 1-2 punch stuff. That's good.
Yeah, clever. And the winner, 60 votes were cast on this thing over the course of a day, which was more than I expected, by a 45 to 39% margin. Coming in second place, the first runner-up was Nico's restraining order for Dan. So let disappointment cast upon you, Bruski, because we both, I think, wanted that one, and it came in second place to Nico Love. Nico Love is the winner of the Nico hashtag award.
I thought the restraining order one was better, but whatever.
Yeah, I like that one too. It's calling me out for what's going on here, which is that I'm watching Nico Mirotic through his bedroom window, and
and you were watching last night when it looked like all was not well. He was going to have his first dud, and he did that of which a fantasy stud does, and he got what, 15 and 5 and a block or something.
Yeah, he managed to salvage it. It wasn't a good game by any stretch, but it wasn't a bad one, and that was really important. It's like I think baseball actually is kind of a good, like a stud pitcher who doesn't have his best stuff kind of thing. Where the best pitchers, good pitchers in baseball get you out when their stuff is working. Great pitchers in baseball figure out a way to get you out when their stuff isn't working. And that was kind of what we saw yesterday from Nico, which was like, this isn't working right, but I'm going to still go get 15 and 5, basically all in the second half too. So I'm going to make you wait and sweat it out. Not bad. He hit 3 threes, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So there was still that aspect to it. And dude seriously could average 3 threes this year. I said that kind of jokingly last month, but he's going to take like 6 to 7 a game.
Well, he's that good of a shooter to warrant that kind of a projection, or that, possibility of a projection. And so that's great. But it's the inside stuff, like being bigger. He can now get that layup on the inside that previously would have been maybe a floater, and he bricked one. He's going to have to practice them. So wide open the other day. And I kind of thought to myself, like, he might not even realize how much bigger and stronger he is and know how to use it yet. But it's been fun to watch, man. We go through these times of, it's like, it's testing your faith and your beliefs, because everything is going the opposite direction. It's the Richaun Holmes stuff, where it's like, that, and that's my promise to everybody out there is, that he's not just good, but he has the potential to be great. Not like great in historical context or anything like that, but he could be a great NBA player. And that eventually finds a way. But it's like, how many times have we been almost like laughed at for standing by Richaun Holmes?
That was a very Jurassic Parkian moment of you.
Was it?
Life finds a way.
Wasn't
that? I think that's a Jurassic Park line. So what about the other guys in Chicago that are making a little bit of noise? Nwaba making a little bit of noise these days. There's an impending Zach Lavine thing going on. Is there anything to keep an eye on with that situation?
Just the done stuff. I mean, in an 8-cat league, the upside is immense, and he's already, I think, a must-own. He's been a must-own for a while, but like, I think maybe owners are thinking, okay, when's he going to turn into a pumpkin? What's going to happen with Zach Lavine around? I think he's perfect kind of to play next to Zach Lavine, because I don't think Dunn wants to take a ton of shots. I think he's happy, trying to get into the paint, to create, to find somebody like a Lavine, and just be sort of a complementary player. And he might take a small hit, I think, but he's turned a corner. The organization is in his corner. I don't think they want, and Grant's all about. They might use Jerry and Grant to bring Chris Dunn back in a little bit. But you've noticed with Dunn, he has done that on his own. He's gotten a little bit more efficient, and having better players on the floor has taken a lot of pressure off. So like him, Justin Holiday, you know, a lot of people have asked, do I drop this guy? And don't do that. He's going to be just fine. This Bulls team is kind of cool, which is crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense at all, but they're kind of cool to watch right now.
Let's jump over to Philly because you mentioned Richaun Holmes. Joel Embiid's starting to miss some games here, and what we're seeing basically is that if any of the front court, Embiid, Saric, or Covington is out, then Holmes is going to work his way into about 24 to 28 minutes, and in that amount of time, he can be quite good. But what about the games when all three of those guys are healthy? Where do you stand with that? I mean, it's a fiasco now, right? Because what's going on with Embiid? Is he more hurt than they let on?
Why the hell you got to bring in Trevor Booker to make this harder on us?
It's unnecessary.
I mean, that's just like that's so absurd. The Colangelos should be embarrassed. The Sixers should be embarrassed. It's embarrassing how bad that is. And I'll say this, like the tweet that, did I say already? I think I might have said it earlier, that Richaun Holmes' mom and dad liked my tweet the other day.
You texted me that.
Which was awesome. It was that Richaun Holmes wouldn't let Nikolov Mirotic.
That's right, Nikolov.
I forget what he did. He won the game more or less. With Saric covering him. And Holmes is just a beast. Like now that Zach Lowe has written him up, I think there's going to be a lot more attention on this. And this is kind of funny about how basketball Twitter works, and you know, basketball in general is like a really heavy hitter writer finally goes, "What the hell's going on here? Like, why is Richaun Holmes not playing?" And he couched it. You know, a lot of these writers will couch things so that it doesn't really make the coach organization look dumb. He's like, "Yeah, I don't know if Richaun Holmes can play with Joel Embiid. I got news for everybody. He can play with Joel Embiid. Like, it is a guarantee that he can play with Joel Embiid." So now that light has been shown on this, I think he's going to survive the additional hurdle of Trevor Booker. But when you have a player like this that can do what he can do, whether it's rebounding, offensively, running to the rim, shooting, putting the ball on the ground, passing, hitting free throws. He does it all. Defensively, he's just, players don't go at him at all. There's this field of spatial advanced statistics that's really interesting, and they kind of measure if a player on defense has a lot of possessions go at them. So like bad defender, you know, like say Zach Randolph, teams that are smart go at him every single time down the floor, you know, so that would count against a player like that. With Richaun Holmes, they don't want anything to do with him. So at any rate, Holmes, he's good. Colangelos, like, they're just terrible. Absolutely terrible. Why is Jared Bayless playing?
I have no answer.
That's all I got for you. You got me fired up this morning. No, but Richaun Holmes has had a really good week.
Michael Beasley's getting a lot of attention right now.
You know who should be getting more attention? Is Panda. Panda had the great headline. It was MVBs instead of MVP. It was great.
It hurts. That hurts me in the area of my stomach that hurt on Monday.
I'm not buying bees for whatever.
Yeah, nor am I. I'm not either. These types of things. We've seen this before. But he can score quickly. He just generally doesn't do much else. So, you know, if you're in more than
Factor in the injury risk, the limited minutes, it gets ugly pretty quick for him.
We got a couple of injuries. Damian Lillard, hamstring injury. Brook Lopez, an ankle injury. Beneficiaries, I guess, seen the Lakers no Julius Randle, basically, in the game without Brook Lopez. It was all Kyle Kuzma. It was the Kuz show, with a smattering of Larry Nance mixed in. For the Blazers, I assume it's just more Shabazz Napier. Anything that we're not noticing on that one, or those two rather?
Kuzlash.
Dude, how awesome was Kuz? My God, this kid is good.
Oh yeah. In another thing we talked about on the Cos and Brew show is if they had drafted Kuzma second, then would Ball at 27 or whatever Kuzma was at, would he get like any playing time? Would he get like backup minutes? Like, what would be the deal there?
Alex Caruso is probably not good enough to supplant him. But yeah, I mean, I thought you were going to say, how would the narrative be different? It'd be so intensely different. But I actually think
LeVar Ball wouldn't exist at that point. Like, he wouldn't be a thing.
Right. Well, he's starting a league, you heard, right?
Knock yourself out, LeVar. No, I actually, more power to him. Anything that gets everything out of the college realm, I'm all for. But the powers that be were not very happy. You saw like 5 articles go out about how stupid his idea was. And it's probably stupid, but whatever. Yep. Kuzma, though, I'll say this. I've faded Kuzma all year, mostly because of the stat set, playing time issues, the fact that he needed 30 minutes to get, top 100 value, that type of stuff. And that stuff's all still in play. But, this injury to Lopez might be the tipping point where it's just all coast clear for the rest of the year, with Kyle Kuzma. He's a great offensive player. What else can you say? If he was, you got to not rate these guys where they were drafted. Like, he's not a 27 pick or whatever he was. He is a probably top 5 pick, something like that.
It's amazing.
In this year's draft, if you redrafted.
Are you dropping Brook Lopez?
Man, I got some interesting drop questions there from, the text line. Every now and then there's somebody gets access to the text line. And
yeah, I know a few of those names.
You know who I'm talking about. And so, you try to do a really good job for these folks. They've been on board with hoop ball for a while. And you get these questions like, do I drop Brook Lopez for Maxi Kleber?
No, don't do that. Drop him for somebody.
No, well, but you know what? It gets damn hard if you're a Brook Lopez owner. In this particular league, the threes are a little bit more valuable, but I mean, sometimes these moves make sense. And Kleber, I'm not as high on Kleber as a bunch of other people are, but he could play a lot of minutes if they shut Dirk down. Carlisle seems to like him. That helps. It's kind of the same stat set in a weird way, but not really. So you get caught up in what do you do with Brook Lopez? He's out for 3 weeks. I mean, a big guy like that rehabbing on an ankle, doesn't it seem like he could miss more than 3 weeks? Good. When he comes back, he's stepping into what role? At what point do they say it's not worth it? I don't think you're dropping him. I mean, he's been about as bad as anybody could have predicted, and he's still worth owning if he's healthy. I don't think you're dropping him. And I told that individual not to do it. But I said this. I said, I can't advise you to make this move. It might pan out at the end of the year. If you're in a playoff format, is Brook Lopez even going to be there? Is Maxi Kleber at that point in time, he's been playing 30 minutes per game for, say, like March, and, you're in your fantasy playoffs, and now you got a guy who's basically reprising Dirk's role, as a very poor man's Dirk. It's tough, so I advise against it, but, that's where Brook Lopez is at this year. And it was that fear that kept him off my rosters.
What about Brooklyn? What's going on out there? They traded for Jahlil Okafor, and he's played 1 game despite being with the team for 2 weeks. Is he ever going to play? The other options at center on that club are hideous. They look a little disjointed lately.
Jared Allen has actually looked okay, in particular with Karis LeVert in their good outings. But ever since Okafor and when Stauskas had his big game, like that marked the end of the Nets' good run, and now they've been on a bad run. I kind of think that the trip to Mexico City, messed with their rhythm, and because they haven't been good since then. They're talking about lineup changes. Atkinson let Tyler Zeller get torched by Zach Randolph. And I mean torched. It was painful to watch. And he didn't make any adjustments. And, they kind of just gave that game to the Kings. Their second unit, deplorable. Karis LeVert was deplorable. And now they're talking about lineup changes. I don't think they're talking about anything that would kind of be really upsetting to hoop ballers, like if Spencer Dinwiddie got moved to the bench or something. He's looked pretty good. His shooting is kind of a concern right now. He's in a deep shooting slump, if you ask me. It'll be interesting to see if he can bounce out of that, because that would have a huge impact on his value if he could. He's been probably about 2 rounds less than the hype we've been giving him, maybe a little bit more even. But at the same time, you kind of don't want to ride that too hard. The shooters, especially ones that shoot a lot of 3-pointers, will go through the ebbs and the flows. So it depends on where you capture that on the graph. But we could see, say, either Jared Allen move into the starting lineup. I doubt it's going to be Okafor. Okafor's got another 2 weeks before they consider him to be in game shape, which begs the question, why aren't you in game shape, dude?
He was hanging out with Marquise Chris.
I'm just, Okafor are like numerous, and I don't understand why anybody would be like, oh yeah, the Nets made a good deal. Yeah, that whatever, that's all said and done, but nothing going for Okafor. I think a change to the starting lineup might be at the center position, and if not, moving Alan Crabb out of the starting unit and into the second unit. But those are mostly cosmetic changes. I don't expect a lot to change there. And then there was a D'Angelo Russell update. He's not back anytime soon, so no surprise there.
Yeah. Kelly Olynyk had an enormous game earlier this week, and so did Jeremy Lamb. My question for you, Brew, is
on the party did we have over here?
Yeah, I was gonna say, was it the good tequila or was it the cheap tequila?
It's always the good tequila, Dan.
Yeah, I know how Brew lives. So on the Jeremy Lamb front, it doesn't seem like Nick Batum is right, and he hasn't looked right, and he's actually been out for stretches. That one feels pretty easy, right? Like, I mean, unless somehow Batum suddenly becomes 100% healthy, then Jeremy Lamb has an opening here for presumably a season. On the Kelly Olynyk front, and I was reading one of those Ask Ira Winderman pieces, because I know you're a big Ira guy, and he was just like, look, one of the big questions is when Whiteside comes back, and I liked the fact that they used when instead of if, because it sounds like that's getting a little closer. I desperately need somebody to come back on my damn fantasy team. You guys saw the Twitter picture. I have 8 of my 15 guys out, and it's not like game time decision stuff except for Otto Porter. The other 7 guys are out. I'll list them, actually, so everybody can join me in this pity party. Damian Lillard, the most recent to join the affair. He joins Steph Curry, Hassan Whiteside, Brooke Lopez, Blake Griffin, Zach Lavine. I mentioned Otto Porter, and I'm forgetting one. James Johnson. 8 guys. Anyway, enough of that. So when Hassan Whiteside comes back, whenever it is, next week, week after, 3 weeks, whatever it happens to be, Winderman was talking about how they still need to figure out if Olynyk can play power forward, but how do they figure that out unless they actually play him at power forward? Is there another way?
I don't even know if it's just Olynyk at power forward. I think they could look at Adebayo at power forward. It's really always a question of who are you covering. Olynyk's game's a little more stretchy, but Adebayo can stretch a little bit. I think it's more a question of, do you want 2 players that might not be quite as skilled in things like putting the ball on the ground? Olynyk's a good offensive player, but it comes from a general versatility versus like being able to truly act as a stretch 4 or anything like that. It's tough, and I think they will benefit from the injuries up and down the rotation, though. They could have that phenomena where everybody gets healthy all at the same time, and then you do have a very real question of, can these guys get any minutes at power forward. If they can't, it's somebody's got to go. I don't know that it's going to be Olynyk after a career high in scoring. I mean, there might have been a question about that a few weeks ago. It's probably Adebayo.
Yeah, so Wyndham
goes.
Too, by the way, that's what Ira said. He was like, Bam probably goes back to being a backup.
Or a DNP guy. But I kind of think that they appreciate what he brings, and they're going to find a way to make this work. It's tough though, because Ellington might be the guy you'd look at first and say, okay, he's got to go. But he has been one of the common threads of their wins. He has been one of their better players in net rating. So if they're fully healthy, you're looking at a position where the guy that's probably got to get clipped is Justice Winslow, and maybe even to some degree Josh Richardson, which will probably sound sacrilegious to the guys that either have held him or picked him up as a result of his hot streak. We're pro Josh Richardson around here, but when this group is fully healthy, they need offense on the floor. And so he becomes a little bit of a liability. I don't know that they'll figure it out in Miami. I really don't. I mean, Spo, for everything he does well as a coach and everything they do as well as an organization, there have been times in his tenure where you have questioned, like, for instance, Mike Bibby in the playoffs. You know, like, why is this guy on the floor? He's clearly killing you. And he's got that coach's thing where it's the stubbornness that I'm not going to change this up because you, the press, or you, the other people, are saying, hey, you need to change this. I'm going to make it work. So we'll see. I'm definitely holding both Olynyk, obviously, and Adebayo until there's a reason to get rid of them.
All right, last topic before we hit the chat room. The Denver Nuggets starting to get healthier again, sort of, right? They're like perpetually kind of healthy. Wilson Chandler looks a little better. Will Barton looks a little worse. Jokic looks rusty. Jamal Murray actually appears to be the only healthy player left on the roster, so he's been going bigger lately. And then this Craig kid that we kept getting questions about, he's not even signed for an entire year. Well, I mean, what the hell's going on out there? Is Michael Malone just like, whoever can make a bucket today, you're playing?
You know, some of the Denver guys are finally giving Malone a chance. I've noticed they're being nice to him, which that's good to hear, because Michael Malone is one of the good coaches in the NBA. He's one of the good people in the NBA. So it's good to see him get a fair shake. Pardon me. So those guys, I think, are just going to be a bit inconsistent while they're banged up. That's what happens when you have these, deficiencies in your lineup. I think Craig Stevens is not, somebody that should probably be playing in an NBA rotation. Wilson Chandler has been a beneficiary lately. Obviously, Jamal Murray has gone off lately, and this will help his backers. All these injuries have put Murray into a position where he's had to be kind of, well, obviously a big time scorer, but he's had to do other stuff too. He's had big rebounding nights. He's picked it up in the money counting stat areas. Defensive stat areas are actually the ones that we're concerned about with him. So that'll help him. I still don't know if he'll make his grade. We'll see about that. He also has to stay healthy. This doesn't come without wear and tear on him. But yeah, until you get Paul Millsap back, it's going to be, a big hole there in the front court. One thing I'm kind of watching to see is they always wanted to play Jokic and Mason Plumlee together. That was kind of a bigger part of their plan. Not sure a lot of people signed on with that plan, but that was a bigger part of their plan. He has been a little productive lately. He didn't start off productive once Jokic was out, and I think anybody that added him dropped him pretty quickly. It would be something to watch for this sort of kind of next 2 months with no Millsap around, because if Chandler can't stay healthy and you have these other injuries, then, it makes a lot of sense for him to come in there and be that sort of popcorn stat guy, probably top 100 guy. If you're in need of a center, I'd say definitely have him on your watch list, and maybe even consider a spec ad and say a 12 to 14 team league.
Question time. We go to the chat room here. Again, this is Fantasy NBA Today live on YouTube. I want to remind everybody again, if you're not watching this show live, you should do it next time around. We do it every Friday. Questions began a couple hours before the show went live, so we'll say hello to some folks, and then we'll dig in here. What's up, Jim? We got Show Me the Maury. Everybody's saying hello at the beginning. Here's a ranking question. First one was Michael Beasley, so we already hit on that one. Rank the following 4 players: Aaron Bruski, Nico Mirotic, Tobias Harris, Jason Tatum, and Tim Hardaway Jr.
Okay. I'll go with Tim Hardaway Jr. No, that would be the last one. I'm going with Tatum, Tobias, then I'm going to go Nico, and then I'm going to go Tim Hardaway Jr.
I hope Tim Hardaway Jr. can play sometime. That would be nice.
Little jumps is a pretty big thing. Like being able, like that means he's progressing. That means that.
That's true.
I would say that's good news on the if I have been owning and holding Tim Hardaway and hoping for better news.
It's the first piece of good news we've had basically since it went down. What's going on with Smoking Joe is the question.
I would like to make the he's been smoking cigarettes joke, but that's just screwed up because then people will think, what if he actually does smoke cigarettes or stogies? You know,
like,
what if that was the
he's NBA all over again?
Like Vlade Divac. I mean, come on, he was great while smoking cigarettes. Keith Hernandez was a big cigarette smoker for the New York Mets.
Well, no one's surprised that people are using nicotine in baseball.
Did you see that Darryl Strawberry story where it's like he had, like I used to, go have sex in between innings. When I'd see a girl in the stands, I'd probably send a baseball up, that whole bit, and then go have sex. But then, so the story was written, I think it was like Newsday. I forget who did the story, but then the picture they used of him was like him in like a suit, looked like he was like on the New York Stock Exchange. I think he was holding a phone and he had like a smile on his face, like he was accomplishing stuff.
He clearly was accomplishing stuff.
Yeah, I just thought that was a really interesting way to put that story. Anyway, what are we talking about?
Smoking Joe.
Smoking Joe. We get a little sidetracked pretty easily here. No, I think he's got a lot of minutes. I don't think he's played this many minutes in his career. There's been a ton of injuries. He has done a lot of the heavy lifting. He's usually guarding one of the better players on the other team. When I saw his steals counts go down, I don't have his game log up, but I'm going to say probably like 5-6 games of maybe no steals or 1 steal. Really low numbers. It was a red flag that I don't really think he's hurt. I watched him play last night, and nothing said he was hurt to me, but I think that he needs a break. Like if he got 1 game off, it might do wonders for him. And as players get healthy, I think that will help him out. This is a massive buy low moment. Get in there. Just do it. Like throw a buzzy top 125 player. Just go do it.
Ray J asks, what do you see for IT when he comes back? Is he going to be on a Kawhi Leonard style minute restriction? What's the length of time for him to ramp back up?
Maybe a minute restriction early on. Reggie Miller apparently saw him working out and was on some sort of radio and said that he looked outstanding. Looked like the old IT. We haven't gotten a ton of reports, from those in Cleveland. I don't think anybody's really ready. He is the old IT because they either haven't seen it or don't know. Reggie probably had a pregame, I imagine, on Thursday night, last night, saw him. So that gives me a lot of confidence that he's, back up to speed, that he's got his old explosion. Minute restrictions, yes, but you know what we've seen with IT, it doesn't matter. If he gets 22 minutes in a game, he's going to be plenty productive for lineups. I think he fits right into Kyrie's old role. I think that they realize they need him to be good in order to beat the Warriors. So they're going to work him in aggressively. There's going to be a little bit of a how do we play with these guys type of a deal. But yeah, no, within about, I'd say, give it 3 weeks and he'll be back up to top 25 value.
Jahlil Okafor versus Greg Monroe, rest of season. This is a loaded one.
I would take, pick the 300th player in your league. I would take that person over Jahlil Okafor.
That was Nick Brusino last year, right? Remember we had that trivia question? So, so Greg Monroe, do you think Greg Monroe's getting moved? Do you think they actually can get rid of him?
Why are you asking me Suns questions, Dan?
I want to get you re-fired up here for the chat room.
I think Greg, I mean, look at what he did last night. Like, he has to play somewhere. The Phoenix can't just be like, we're going to keep this somewhat good asset and never use it, and to hell with all of you.
Yeah.
Like, they got to do something with him.
Blake Griffin question. We haven't had one of those in a while, I think. Do you think he's coming back this season? Thoughts on his rest of season value? I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't, right? I mean, they're only like 2.5 games out of a playoff spot right now.
I can build an argument for him to be very careful coming back. There's not enough time for them to be ruled out for the playoffs, until he comes back. So that's good. Like, he probably comes back. But this, to me, looks like a 9-team race in the West, with the Clippers being the 10th team. And so if that gets to be the point, if the numbers, whenever those numbers teeter, so let's say we've played 33 games, ballpark, whatever everybody's played, and that gives us about 50 games left for teams. Let's say 25 games from now, they're 6 games out of the 8 slot. The math gets really fuzzy. It's hard to figure how they're going to leapfrog a couple teams. And then if he hasn't returned by then you get the question of, well, we got so much money wrapped up in this guy. Why bring him back? Why not tank? I haven't looked at their pick situation, but why not tank?
Well, 25 games from now, you're talking about that's a long time from now. That's like the middle of February. Isn't he expected back in 2 to 3 weeks?
Yes. That's why I think he will come back this year. But look, he has one setback.
That's true. That is true.
Then you're looking at 2 to 3 weeks. But yeah, I would hold him if your format allows you to. He still has top 75 value when he returns.
Yeah, but he's not going to be that top. And this was something that you hit the nail on the head with that, and with something we've been talking about at Hoopball a lot. He's not going to be that top 30 guy that everybody was hoping for. It just doesn't. The number.
He's killing you. Absolutely.
Yeah, the number. They will not lend. He's more than worth owning, but he's not going to be like a third round pick where a lot of people were taking.
No.
Would you sell high on Joel Embiid if he can actually get back from whatever this latest thing is?
I think I'm on record as saying he's like a sell high guy for the rest of the year.
Basically, if he can string 3 games together. Wasn't that kind of at the beginning, though? The problem, though, is that he puts up one of those games that's otherworldly, and then you don't want to sell him anymore. That's the difference. That's the whole point of a sell high. That's the moment.
He hasn't been as valuable as you needed him to be, depending on where you draft him. I mean, I saw him get early second round draft treatment. He's not there. Yeah. If you got him at the back end of the second round and the early part of the third round, you're getting basically what you signed up for.
Would you take someone like a Boogie for Joel Embiid straight up?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And even with everything that Boogie brings to the table, which is a ton of risk and a lot of slippage potential, absolutely, I would take Boogie because he's got a better chance of staying healthy for more games. This stuff with Embiid, Philly's going to screw this up. They're absolutely going to screw this up.
Actually, we got a couple of names on this in the chat room here. Damian Lillard is another one. I think, you'd take Dame over Embiid every day of the week.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Even with the weird thing that's going on with the back of his hamstring.
He's such a tough nut. If it's a strained hamstring, 1 week, maybe 2 max, it feels like. What about for CJ McCollum? What about his teammate in Portland? Would you trade Embiid for CJ?
Oh, absolutely. CJ is like, he might slip every once in a while, but he is as locked into top 24 value as it gets.
He's pretty safe, Cat. Somebody here dropped, Roderick says, I dropped Rashawn Holmes to stash Tim Hardaway Jr. Was that a smart move?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough to know until we see Tim actually.
It's really tough because, like, okay, Rashawn Holmes can be a top 40 guy. If Joel Embiid's out for, if the big one hits, then, Rashawn Holmes goes to top 40 pretty quickly. Like, I mean, he'll have to negotiate the Amir Johnsons and the Trevor Bookers of the world, but he's just simply better than them. So he'd get to his 30 minutes that he needs, and that's top 40. That's better than Tim Hardaway.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Rank the following 4 guys: Kelly Olynyk, Rashawn Holmes, Dwayne Dedman, Marquise Chris. I think I know where Marquise is.
Marquise is going to be ahead of Dedman for me.
No, really?
Yeah, absolutely. And here's why. Dedman, it's not like Dedman has this massive history of fantasy production for us to all lean on and say, yeah, he is this guy. Like, he is. And for as well as he was playing, he was still not really pushing into the kind of the top 80 or 90 as you would like him to. So if that's his upside, and he's also got injury risk, and he's got no history of keeping it going, and you got a John Collins, and Urson's picking it up, and guys are getting healthy, you can see Dedman getting into this, I'm a late round guy with no upside. It's not hard to see that. And I swear to you, if Marquise Chris just was like playing at half of his potential, he can be a top 50 guy. It's just it's a stat set issue. That's all it is. Like, he is not as good as his fantasy value says he is.
All right. So is Dedman last for you on this list then?
Yeah, I think so. The other 2 guys were Rashawn Holmes and Kelly Olynyk. It's hard for me to put Holmes anywhere but at the top of this list, just simply because Joel Embiid is like, I get tweets all day. Hey, is Joel Embiid right? Is Joel Embiid right? Because everybody's seeing the same thing. Is like 3 days off, that's not great. And
Nope.
and you just wonder, is he going to overdo it? Because the Sixers haven't shown that they can restrain themselves in playing him. So then, how's Kelly Olynyk going to get to that level of upside? He can't.
Those idiots. Buddy Hield, rest of season. What do you think?
This is a great one. I wouldn't be shocked if Buddy Hield's available on wires right now. He's had a couple, like 1 of 7 for 16-minute type nights. Top 100 guy in 23 minutes per game prior to this most recent kind of slump. This is a great stat set for fantasy value. His shooting percentages are not going to ever be bad. Like, he's going to have this 44, plus 40% from 3, and then, 85% free throw, type numbers, or maybe even more. So that part's locked down. He's going to hit his threes. He's becoming a playmaker. It's a Jaeger issue at this point with the minutes, but at a top 100 value or whatever he slid to since last time I measured, that's just a math issue. He cannot be dropped. He's a buy low guy if I've ever seen one. He has top 50 potential late in the season, and he'll creep up there. As far as like if we measure him at any point in time between now and then, it'll be zigzaggy, but it'll go, instead of top 100, it'll be top 90, it'll be top 80, top 70, and at the end of the year, it'll be top 50.
Well, the 10-minute timer has officially gone off. We're at the 50-minute mark of the recorded version, so we enter now the lightning round. Bruski, are you ready?
Yes, let's do this.
Jonathan Isaac, will he be a standard contributor this year, and will he be a standard league contributor in dynasty leagues going forward?
He will be a contributor this year in March. I'll just say that. Yeah, he will be a contributor in March.
Rank the following 4 players. I'm going to assume it's Wilson Chandler, but I'm not 100% sure. It's Chandler, Omri Caspi, Mario Hazonia, and Evan Turner.
Oh, damn. It was
Yep.
Caspi. Oh, I'm going to go Wilson. We'll just hope it's Wilson. And then Caspi's going to be at the bottom of this thing. Hazonia is a little bit above Caspi just because maybe he keeps it up. I'm not buying this Hazonia stuff. And the other one was who again?
Evan Turner. I think you actually ended up sort of backing into him being in the right spot there.
Yeah, I'm not.
At least he's alive.
Turner, something's wrong with Turner. We don't know what it is. He's had these moments throughout his career. It could be weight. Who knows? Like he had the ramp. It's not working. It's one day the switch might be flipped, but I'd rather actually gamble on Hazonia. I'll give Hazonia some love just to see, because like you might get lightning in a bottle there. Who knows? He might be worth something, but I really don't. Stan?
Yeah, well, got to keep you on your toes here. If Zach Lavine is available in my league, should I pick him up and stash him now?
Yes.
Oh, did you say yes? Sorted out.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Goran Dragic versus Elfrid Payton rest of season.
It's a good one. I'll go Elfrid Payton. Younger, more healthy-ish.
That's good. Tyreke Evans. Are we seeing any slippage? How long can he really keep this up? Because he's already exceeded all expectations.
Until the knee starts swelling up.
So sell high?
Oh, absolutely. You're just gambling on a daily basis right now. If you're holding the asset, you're just gambling.
Aaron, between your 2 sons, which one do you love more, Joe Ingles or James Johnson?
Smoking Joe.
I think you talked about Plumlee in Denver. Is there any way he stays as a starter for 2 months?
No, not like continuously, because Michael Malone will play the matchups. And so if you got a smaller team, they'll move him into a backup role. And that will be part of the kind of inconsistency. But yeah, no, I mean, mostly I think there's a very good chance he averages, say, 25 minutes per game over this span.
Who is your least favorite player among the following list? So basically, you have to drop one of these guys,
I thought this was like, who do I like the least?
Well, basically, yeah. So you got to drop one of these guys. The drop options are Dion Waiters, John Henson, Brandon Ingram, Willie Cauley-Stein, and Milos Teodosic. Which of those 5 guys do you drop first?
It was the first one. It was
Dion.
Yeah, just the stat set's not there to support fantasy value. He probably has a bum ankle, might be overweight, and he might be a bit of a squeaky wheel. Those are all very, very pessimistic outlooks on each of those things. Maybe he's none of those things. If he's not any of those things, he's still not as good as any of the other ones.
So another player potentially on the Marquise Chris Cheese diet.
I don't really think in Miami it's not typically that, but it's just hard. He needs like a full 33 minutes or 32 minutes and full touches, and he needs a lot of freedom to be a good 20 shots. Yep.
Is Anthony Davis a sell high guy for you permanently, like Joel Embiid? And I'm going to insert myself in this one because for me, he's actually not anymore. He's shown that he's more willing to play through stuff than he used to be, but feel free to disagree.
It's all these things are cumulative. I feel like, the groin thing that hit him the other day was just his body not being able to accommodate for mild, or not mild, but like normal NBA movements as well as, say, the next guy. And so I feel like this is it's a tough time. There's a lot of attention on Anthony Davis. There's going to be even more attention going forward if they slip, which we've always talked about the potential for slipping. Then you're going to start to see stuff about, do we trade DeMarcus Cousins? What are we doing here? And at some point in time, it becomes smarter to not get hurt. that's if he does. That's pulling him from the game as a shutdown candidate. If he stays on the floor, he could get hurt. I just think you got to sell him. I mean, the best market position for him was last year when there was a great expectation that he would play more than 70 games. And I just don't know that, now that we're back up to considering him an elite fantasy asset in that sort of top 5-ish range, where people kind of put him when they rate him, I think you got to sell high.
Ricky Rubio, is there any hope?
Yeah, Ricky's fine. I mean, buy low.
Now, though, yeah, he did have 11, 11, and 7 yesterday, didn't he? That was a better ball game.
You know what? He's one of these guys that has ups and downs, but when you go to the rankings and you go to the math and you go to the numbers, like it's never that it's quite as fluctuating as what people think it is.
It's not as awful as it seems.
That's what I was looking for.
Do you like DeAndre Jordan tonight? This is, I guess, more of a DFS question. I need to look this one up.
Who are they playing tonight?
They are in Memphis to take on the Grizz. I don't really like anybody against the Grizz. They play a nice, slow, plodding, methodical tempo.
Well, I mean, Memphis played last night, and so they might be a little bit tired. Marc Gasol might be a little bit tired. Marc Gasol is not really a high flyer, but DeAndre Jordan's not really a high flyer anymore either. You do have Milos. Is he playing tonight? Because if Milos is playing, that enhances DeAndre's game quite a bit. Pretty sure Milos is playing tonight, but not Saturday or vice versa. Let me get an answer on that.
He will not play tonight. Milos out tonight, but will play Saturday.
Yeah, I would fade Jordan.
Excuse me, they're in Houston. They're in Houston tonight, not Memphis.
Saturday's Memphis. Got it. Oh, well, that certainly changes things. Against the Rockets, with no Clint Capella, maybe they trot out Nene for this one. Nene can be a sneaky good defender. What's Nene's status? That might be the answer to the question right there.
Old.
Of course he's old, Dan.
He's alive.
We're old. Back when I was a kid, I'd know this off the top of my head.
Nene is alive, as far as I can tell.
Capella's doubtful. I don't have an update on Nene. Let me get the most recent. See, Nene played one half of basketball on Wednesday. I'm gonna say that this isn't the game to play Jordan. I feel like they're going to play Nene. That's my key point right there. Because if they don't have Capella, they don't have Nene. It gets tough.
Houston
to
cover. Get blocked, right? This is, and I'm not a DFS guy, but aren't the Rockets a difficult team to get blocked shots against?
Well, when you shoot a lot of 3-pointers by kind of rule, it's tough to block them. And it's not like you have a lot of interior play going on. I mean, your drivers are good at protecting the ball. Capella's a dunker.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I think, it's
not for the price. I'm assuming his price is pretty high in DFS.
Well,
but again,
no Milos that's a deal killer for me, because where are they going to get any sort of production from their guards? Austin Rivers? The fabled Austin Rivers to DeAndre Jordan connection.
Austin Rivers, the hitch, everything he does with a hitch. That's unbelievable. Miguel de Guzman says, I'm in a 20-team league. I've got a pretty big lead to spare to get into the playoffs. I just traded Lou Williams and Reggie Bullock for injured Mike Conley and injured Jabari Parker. Is this insane, or am I a genius?
Who did you trade again? It was Lou
Williams and Reggie Bullock. So Lou Williams and Blarg. But he got two studs that are not playing right now.
Lou Williams is a stud, though.
Yeah, he's slowed a tiny bit of late, not unexpectedly, with much on his shoulders.
Yeah, and there's some mild injury risk there, I suppose. I don't like Conley's chances this year of being much of anything. I think that there's every reason in the world to shut him down. Another big contract with really no reason to get out there and make him play. It's a lot of drama. You got an ownership group that's basically garbage right now. And that's, So I'm not a big fan of this trade. Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of it. Sorry. And the other player for it was Conley and who?
Jabari Parker.
Hopefully silver lining here for you. Jabari comes back and gives you some of that, pop that best case scenario, both of them come back in the fantasy playoffs and you've got, two good assets going for you. So you're not dead yet. You're not dead in the water yet, but Lou is I'm sitting on a trade right now. Somebody offered me Lou Williams for Taurean Prince in the beginning of the year. And
still sitting there.
It's sitting there because I'm an honorable person. And I don't really want to get into a negotiation. I don't have the time to even transact in this league barely. But every time I check, it's like the trade's still sitting up there. And I'm like, I would definitely take Lou Williams over Taurean Prince right now.
Yeah, you really should just text that guy and see if he meant to leave it up. Then you
probably should, but I don't have time. And that's one of the hard parts of being in this many leagues and, running a site and doing all this stuff is your teams do suffer, But yeah, out of honor, I could just click accept. Like it's been in my queue forever, but I'm just not going to do that to him.
All right, a couple of quick ones here to wrap things up. Better stash Marquise Chris or Jordan Bell?
It's Marquise Chris. I love. Okay. Can I take that? Give me 3 seconds here. Jordan Bell's been a top 75 value over the last 13 games in 17 minutes per contest. He can keep 17 minutes per game, I think. The blocks and the steals are phenomenal. It's 2.5 per game. It's just out of control. It's really hard to make a bet on that, because so much can happen with steals and blocks. And what happens when they're at full strength? Like, does he have the breathing room on defense to get those numbers? There's a conversation to be had about it. It's closer than I just made it when I gave the one-word answer. In the reality world, I think, or not in the reality world, I think when we step back and look at this, I think Marquise Chris is the better asset, but it's very close.
Yeah, at least Jordan Bell looks like he wants to be out there. Here's one at the top of the charts. Who would you rather have from now until the final day of the regular season, Yanis or KD?
Giannis, because KD's got every reason to take a night off. Giannis is still trying to exert his influence on the league. Yeah, I think Giannis.
Is Marc Gasol getting traded at the deadline?
60% yes, 40% no.
Do you like he or Clint Capella more?
Capella, without a doubt.
We talked about Kyle Kuzma a little bit earlier in the program. Jonathan Simmons or Mike Scott, or neither?
Simmons by a large margin. Mike Scott's going to turn into a pumpkin here real quick.
Yeah, Washington, somebody's hurt on that team pretty much all the time. And that's it. Any further questions will not be answered. Wonderful work by our friends in the chat room to keep this thing pretty broad, actually. We didn't get those weird 6-for-7 trade requests on today's show. Nicely done, chat room. Nicely done, Mr. Aaron Bruski, El Arquitecto. You are officially off the hot seat. The lightning has stopped zapping near to you. You were not struck. The thunder was clapping, but you're okay. Brew, a big thank you, as always, for this lovely Friday.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, people. Go be with your families, your friends, your loved ones. Go do something nice for somebody you don't know. Decompress, get ready. 2018 is a huge year, not just for us here at the site, but fantasy-wise, you got about a half a season to go, probably a little bit more than that. A lot can happen between now and then. If you're not where you want to be, we can get that all figured out. If you're where you want to be, we can start putting some distance between you and those other teams. But above all, enjoy your holidays, and we will see you next week. Oh, schedule-wise, we will be doing the weekly show on Sunday.
Yes, well. That's what I was going to mention as well.
I'm stealing your thunder, Dan.
You're good. Holiday tidings. Hopefully some of these players can get their stinking butts healthy. I'm dying over here. But yes, Bruski's right. A very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, happy belated end of Hanukkah that ended earlier this week. Whatever you may be celebrating, do so with joy and do it safely. That was my old sign-off when I did play-by-play. The weekly show is indeed on Sunday. We're combining the waiver show and the lineup show. Brew and I will be doing that Sunday right around lunchtime. Monday is Christmas Day. The games start first thing in the morning, so don't forget to set your lineups before Monday begins, or you're going to get stuck with some guys in there that you probably didn't intend to put into your lineup. At Aaron Bruski on Twitter, at Dan Besbris, at Hoopball Tweets. This is Fantasy NBA Today live on YouTube. Have a lovely weekend, a lovely Christmas. We'll talk to you soon.